Hey y'all, it's Ashley at Bookishrealm, and I am here with another discussion video that I think a lot of people have been talking about this. I'm not the first talking about this, and I definitely am not going to be the last talking about this, but I kind of wanted to give my little input and my 2 cents because it's something that I know that I've been talking to other people about and something that's just been talked about in the community. So as you can see from the title of this video, I don't think at this point I have come up with a title that I am 100% sure about, but I'm sure at this point it's something along the lines of, is the Booktube community the same? Booktube is changing? Is Booktube dying? Something along those lines, because we're going to be covering all those things. But before we get started, I wanted to remind you all, if you hadn't had the chance to take advantage of Magic Mind, which of course I talked about this in a previous video, which I will link up in the cards above, where I was doing updates about taking Magic Mind. I still am taking it. It still has been great, y'all, especially at work. I have been feeling so productive. I feel like I've been getting some things done, and I definitely think that this is to help. So remember that I do have a code and a link that you can check out down in the description box below. Remember that they are running their campaign right now where they are raising funds to help save the rainforest, and you can participate in the challenge and also win a free subscription or a free case of Magic Mind. So I definitely will leave all, like I said, all the information down in the description box below. Be sure to check it out. The campaign ends on the 30th, so I'm sending this to you all as a reminder that the campaign is coming to a close. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right back in to our topic of discussion. So one of the things that I like to preface in saying this is that, as always, these are my opinions. This doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong, but I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts and my ideas. And right now, it's just been an interesting time in the Booktube community. Keep in mind, I have been a part of this community since 2014. So I have seen so many things that have happened in the past 8 years, going on 9 years, that it just shows kind of the ebb and flow of the community. I think that one of the most challenging things about being a part of the Booktube community right now, YouTube is competing right now as a platform with other platforms that provide much shorter experiences than YouTube. I think that with my generation, which is, I'm a millennial, and then looking at Gen Z, I think that we are seeing a lot of platforms come to fruition that cater to sometimes the inability to sit down and watch a 20 or 30 minute video. It's easier to watch a 30-second video that gives you just as many recommendations as a video that is, 20, 30 minutes long. And so I don't know if the long form video is as valued as it may have been in the past, which is, it is what it is. I think that now you're seeing a lot of competition, and not intentional competition, but it's a lot of push and pull between Booktube and Book Talk in particular. I think we all have our personal feelings about Book Talk. I'm not really on Book Talk because I feel like in some ways Book Talk within itself is Booktube in shorter form, with the same issues, with having to carve out your own space, with the algorithm pushing the same content creators, namely white, thin, and conventionally beautiful, or what is assumed to be conventionally beautiful women, and you still like fighting against. I just don't have the patience nor the time, when that's something that I already battle and fight here, to take that to another platform and have to deal with the foolishness over there. But people will be people, and that is life, such as life. So I think that that's one of the things that is causing some, I don't want to say some failure. I don't want to say failure on behalf of the Booktube community, but I think that there is some transitioning from Booktube to people gravitating towards Book Talk. I struggle a lot with this community. It is a push and pull with me. I love this community, and I have a strong dislike for this community at the same time, which is very complex and very conflicting feelings at all times. I think having been here for so long, it makes me hyper aware of the ups and downs that come with this community, but it also makes me see kind of just patterns that just time after time and this stuff never changes. A lot of times the same conversations that we're having in 2022 are conversations that we were having in 2016, 2017, and 2018, and it can be quite frustrating. I think one of the things that is tripping a lot of people out right now, which is fair, and I'm not the first person to talk about this, so I won't claim to be the first person to talk about this, is lifestyle YouTubers transitioning over to catering to a Booktube community, which is very awkward in a lot of ways because you see this success. So they get recommended to me, which I think is absolutely frustrating and weird because I don't give the algorithm any reason to think that those are people that I would want to watch. No shade to them, but honestly, I don't have a lot in common with a lot of lifestyle YouTubers turned booktubers. I really don't. The reading tastes were completely different. We just don't have much in common. So I think it's also interesting that the algorithm on the back end is continuously pushing these people, even though me as a viewer, when I watch it, and when I say when I watch it, I mean when I engage on YouTube, these are not the content creators that I'm watching, and yet the algorithm feels for some reason that they need to be pushed towards me, which that's a whole different issue that I'll dive into. But I think one of the frustrating things now about being a content creator, especially in my perspective and view, is having been here for so long, that you see people who are kind of edging their way into the community and not really doing much to quote unquote better the community. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it 100 with y'all. Like, I really don't feel like, unless there's somebody out there that I'm missing, but a lot of the major lifestyle YouTubers turned booktubers, like, what are you adding to the community? Because at the end of the day, you're not doing anything that I don't see other booktubers doing, and you're not recommending anything that's like mind-blowing, like this is something that people are not really talking about. They get the same views as some booktubers, or even a higher influx of views than booktubers, reading the same books that the community has a tendency to read. So that within itself can be frustrating, but I don't know if it 100% really frustrates me, because that's the way that this community has always operated. That's the way that it will continue to operate, because I often feel like it is a microcosm of the world at large. And so those who are doing content creation that is unique and different, and I'm not even putting myself into that pool because I'm not here to gas myself up. That's not what this is about. I follow people who are super fucking creative. Really creative, and don't really get the shine or the clout that they should be getting when there are people who are doing not as creative things that are, you know, getting thousands and thousands and thousands of views, because unfortunately YouTube is a stroke of luck. The algorithm picks up some people and favors them, and in other places it doesn't. That's always been the way that this community has functioned now, and it will be the way that this community functions, because it's viewers who have a role in that, and then it's also an algorithm, which is artificial intelligence, that is not going to favor, once again, people who look like me. And I know somebody is probably going to come forth and say, like, it's not always about race, but it's been proven that algorithms do have a tendency to be racist. And yes, there are a handful of us that do make it into, you know, the top tier of what we consider to be success, but it's not a high percentage when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, which is why I will say this, and I will keep it at this. This is why you see a lot of black booktubers start creating and then they drop and then they just don't come back. I've seen so many black creators start and fall off and never come back because they just don't feel like they have the same opportunities as others. But I digress. That's not why I'm here. But I do think that it can be frustrating when you are trying to fight against a system that's not necessarily going to always work in your favor, and then you kind of see people who have built up a following doing something else, and they shift their content over, and then it just ends up working in their favor. Unfortunately for me, what I do feel like, and what I feel very strongly about, is that this is a new fad. It's a new thing. It's a new hobby, which as a librarian, part of my soul is very happy about that. I'm very excited to see people be excited about reading, because I can't not be excited about that. But unfortunately, I do feel like part of that comes from trendiness. It's a trend, and it's cool now to read. It's cool to pick up manga when I know kids like me in school used to get bullied for it. You know, it's very interesting just seeing social changes on a larger scale that, you know, lead towards admiration of something that you got bullied for when you were younger. Sometimes it's hard to kind of grasp that and be okay with it. And you can't gatekeep. You don't want to gatekeep. As a librarian, I don't ever want to gatekeep. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say like it's not tough to want to gatekeep. Like, you're encroaching on something that you probably would have never done if it wasn't a trend. But I also think that there is much to be said about success and how it defines where you feel like you have a place in this community. And I, like I said, have been a part of this community for a long time. My views ebb and flow. Okay. Sometimes there'll be overperformance, and sometimes, like for the past couple weeks, my videos have not been pushed out by the algorithm. And for me, I think I've come to a place of it is what it is. There's nothing that I can do necessarily to change that. I'm not in this to become famous. I'm not in this to make this my lifelong career, because I have a lifelong career. And as I've always said before, it's not the end game. But I would be a liar if I said that it wasn't frustrating when people ask for, you know, different content, unique content, different recommendations. I'm tired of people wrecking the same thing over and over again. And then the people who are not following the trends still don't get those views. It's just a very, it's frustrating, because it does lead to a feeling of like, well, I don't feel valued for what I'm bringing to the table. So what do you want at the end of the day? It is very frustrating for people who put out some very, very good content. I'm talking about sound quality, lighting, stuff that they're talking about, and they are not blown, you know, they're not blown out of the water. And then you have someone who's not really as creative, is pretty much reading everything that everyone is already reading, and their channel has blown up. It's difficult not to take that information and have some feelings about it. And I think it's very human to have feelings about that. But I also think that it comes with understanding that Booktube can't define, or it shouldn't. As hard as you can, you shouldn't allow it to define your self-worth as a creator. And it's easier said than done. I know it, I've been there, but I think that because of time, and it just doesn't make me any better than anyone else, but I really do, the time that I've been here, I think it's almost an acceptance of this is where I'm at, this is what my channel is going to be. And, you know, I can sit here and complain and say, okay, well, my ratio technically is off because I have 23,000 subscribers, but I have some videos that I can't even get 2,000 views on because my videos are underperforming. But at the same time, I reframe that, and I kind of think about it in the sense of I'm standing in a room. Let's say I'm standing in a room, an open air room. Okay. I don't know why I said open air. We're just going to go with it. And there are 1,300 people sitting in that room, and all eyes on me because they want to hear what I have to say. That's a lot of fucking people. I don't care how you frame it. Standing in a room and speaking to 1,300 people at one time, that's a lot of humans. That is a whole lot of humans who value your opinion and what you say and how you feel about things. That's a huge deal. And so for me, I've had to reframe how I look at channel performance. I've had to realize that I can't compare myself to everyone else. I can't continue to do what everyone else wants to do. I kind of did this little test, which I never really said anything about it. This is kind of the first time I'm mentioning it. I did negative content, negative energy content, meaning that I'm not going to do this. I'm never going to do this. I did 3 of those videos within the past month and they overperformed. But see, for me, I don't have the energy to keep up doing stuff like that. And I don't want to become a channel where the only reason why I'm successful is because people enjoy negative content or me giving hot takes. I don't want that. I want to be a channel known for giving good discussions, providing maybe some recommendations that you've never heard of, giving you insight to what's going on in, the library world as it compares to, our community here. I want to be known for giving that type of insight. I want people to come to my channel and learn something. And I'm not on the entertainment spectrum of it. And those videos are pure entertainment. It's me almost feeling like I was a caricature, to be honest with you, like performing. And that's not me as a person. And so videos like that have a tendency to be a lot harder on me, and they're a lot draining because it's a different version of myself. Whereas, videos like this, videos where I'm talking about banned books, the stuff that I'm passionate about, even the comic book channel thing, like it's a different thing and they're not as successful, but it's what I'm passionate about, which is why I had made that video at the beginning of the year where I said I wanted this year to be about me balancing what it means to do content that I'm passionate about and do content that I know people are going to like and watch. And not saying that my passion isn't what people like, but I know that those videos where it's hot takes and it's, very much so on the negative side of the spectrum, people enjoy stuff like that. But I know that I also don't always have the energy to do something like that. I think that coming to terms with that reality is what keeps me in this community. And it also makes me question in the long run, how long is Booktube going to last as a community? Because I know that I'm not going to be here forever. I can't do this for forever. I mean, I would like to do this as long as possible, but I think at some point I'm going to gauge and shift towards the comic channel, and that will be my primary focus. But I think that this community is not what it has been in years past, and the key word being community. I think that community element is not always there. It's not, I don't know how to describe it. And I'm not saying that it was perfect back in the day, because there's a lot of things about the community back in the day that is worse than what it is now. But I do feel like that idea and concept of community is not really there. I think that this has become, for some people, an arena to gain traction, popularity, and to make money. And when that becomes a factor, I feel like passion is lost and then community gets lost. Now, I can be completely wrong in my analysis of that. I could be completely inaccurate. It's just a feeling that I have. It's just an intuition that I have. But I don't think that Booktube is going to be able to maintain. I don't think, as more platforms get developed and get introduced and people keep looking for shorter form content and quick, easy things. That's why you have things like Reels now on Instagram. That's why you have TikTok. Like, people look for stuff it's easier. I can do recommendations on an Instagram as an Instagram post, and people like that because they can save it. It's not like they have to go back and rewatch a video or write stuff down. They just, save it, and that's something that they can refer to when they're looking for recommendations. I think we've become a society that is constantly go, 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 go. And I don't know if Booktube necessarily fosters that need to be on the go, to be hustling all the time, like that hustle mentality, not sitting back and enjoying life. Like, everything has to be about making money. Everything has to be instant gratification. Everything has to be quick. Like, I've heard some people call my generation and some of Gen Z like the microwave generation. That's, baby boomers and Gen X. Gen X. I've heard some of them say stuff like that, just from my family. They've used terms like that with me. And sometimes I feel like I can't really disagree, because that fast content, like, people enjoy it. It is why Twitter has been so popular for so long. People can give takes like that. Now, what's going on now with Twitter, I don't know. Like, I don't really know. I think that it's a discussion worth having, and I also think that it's something to consider. Is Booktube on the decline? Are we going to remain relevant? Are people watching Booktube as much as they used to watch Booktube? And when I say Booktube, I mean like us, not the outside individuals who were lifestyle and swapped over. Like I don't I can't, like, I don't really see them engage with anybody in the community to my knowledge. So there's that, which they don't have to. It's not an obligation. It's just literally like it's literally like a switch over, and it's awkward. Like, just putting it out there, it's just very awkward. And so I don't know if we, as the community that we have been for so long, if we can keep up with where trends are leading, if Booktube is going to stay as relevant as it has been in the past. I don't think that we are going to be as relevant as anyone in the past. I don't think that a lot of publishers are looking at us as people who are going to push trends. I mean, I think a lot of times now, whenever I have worked with publishers, like, they're not asking me to talk about these books on my Booktube channel anymore. They're like, do you have a TikTok? Can you do this in an Instagram story? Or can you do this on, like, your main feed on Instagram? Like, it's wanting that quick reaction out of people, as opposed to sitting down and doing something like this, which is a long form discussion, where it's like people may not even watch the whole video, whereas people are more likely to sit down and watch a 1-minute video and get recommendations out of that, like I said before, than to sit down and watch a 20-25 minute video where people are not going to watch that whole video. I have had people tell me, who know me in person, who watch my stuff, they're like, Ashley, I love you, but I'm not watching that whole video. And it is what it is. And so stuff like that has to be taken into consideration, and you have to ask, like, is Booktube on the decline? I don't know. I don't know if it's, I personally don't think that as time goes on, not necessarily the immediate future, but I don't think as time goes on that it's going to be as prevalent. I think when we started seeing books get the book talk, like sensation stamp, you go into bookstores and there are now display tables that focus on books recommended on Book Talk, and it's like, well, people on Booktube have been talking about these books for years, and all of a sudden they're made relevant because of Book Talk. It is a feeling of we're not relevant anymore. I don't know. And then with the frustration associated with the algorithm, let me tell y'all the honest truth. I have such a huge problem with YouTube's algorithm, like a huge problem. And there are things you can do to improve the likelihood of being picked up by the algorithm, and when noticing when it picks you up and doing the right things to stay. But I just don't have the time nor the patience, because it's not my career. But it's aggravating. It's aggravating having to deal with that algorithm. And I've noticed, like, what I did, which is because I don't follow anybody on my comic channel. I'm not subscribed to anybody. I don't watch anybody. Like, that's literally just, I switch over to that platform, to that channel to upload content, but I don't watch content via that channel. It is very awkward that I go in and I can type in a search for anything related to Booktube, whether that's a wrap up, a TBR, a tag video, discussion video, or whatever the case may be, and the algorithm literally pushes. When you do that search, it pushes the same people. And then it's weird because it pushes people who have their video, it'll push a video of someone who has nothing to do with what you searched, but it's pushing this person. And you could understand, like, what these individuals typically look like. And so I think with that, on top of that feeling of almost like the lack of respect and the lack of being appreciated, that people are going to slowly just not want to be a part of this community. And not necessarily because of internal issues that we have, which we have plenty of those. We have lots of internal issues. Like I said, I have a love-hate relationship with this community, but at the same time, there's a lot of external factors that are pushing people away, and people are starting to drop and say like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is just, it's not worth it. I feel like I'm putting time and energy in, and people who are doing less or not good at content, they're getting pushed by the algorithm. You see, you know, short form videos on BookTok and Instagram getting more value and appreciation than the work that's being done here. It just becomes this whole thing of like, am I valued? Do I have any value in this community anymore? Maybe I shouldn't be a part of this community, which is, it's difficult. It's such a difficult thing to process. I know for me, and I can only speak for me, I cannot speak for anybody else in this community. I think, like I said before, I've kind of found my place of comfort where I am satisfied with where I'm at. This is the reality of my channel. Some days are going to be good and some days are not going to be so good. Some videos are going to perform out the ass and some videos are not going to do well at all. And that is just my reality. I am never going to be the booktubers whose video gets 20-30,000 views. It's just not going to happen. I'm not entertaining enough, and I'm fine with that. That's just not my personality. That's not why I'm here. I think that the key to staying in a community where you may not get all of the traction or the appreciation that you think you deserve is looking at the positives of what you already have. And for me, that's definitely the community that I've built on this channel, the people who come back time and time again, the people who watch a video regardless of whether that video gets, you know, 6,000 views or whether that video gets 1,000. And I'm performing better than some people who have been in this community just as long as I have been. And that within itself. Do I feel like, I'm interrupting myself, but I need to say this. Do I feel like the algorithm does favor? Yes, I do. And I think that there's a lot of research that's being done into how algorithms favor certain people. But I also do realize at the same time that there are people who've been here just as long as me, if not longer, who also do not fit, not because just because they're, you know, they may not even be black. They just may not fit into the parameters of what the algorithm likes, and they too are not performing as well as where they think they should be. But I think that having value and understanding that there are people who are willing to listen to me and want to hear me, I think is what keeps me here. But I don't think this community is going to be forever. And it's sad. It's definitely a sad thing to kind of come to that realization. But I think that as time goes and as our attentions continue to get shorter and shorter and shorter, and as generations change and continue to change, like I notice things with my own daughter that, you know, of course we're going to be different, but this is a new generation. And I think that what I enjoy doing, what a lot of us enjoy doing on here, may not last for as long as we think it will last. But I know this video was kind of all over the place. I think while I was talking about it, I think the title maybe is Booktube declining. And so I think that's definitely probably going to be the title. I think I'm going to stick with that. But it's such a huge number of things, y'all. It's such a huge number of factors, which is why this probably felt very which is always stream of conscious, but it probably felt a little all over the place because there's so many things that play into the role of this huge question of whether Booktube is going to be able to maintain. And I don't know. I don't know, but I would love for y'all to answer this question. Do you think that Booktube is on the decline? Like, do you think we're going to be able to maintain? And what factors do you think are catering to people either leaving the platform, not wanting to stay, or, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't think it's on the decline. If you don't think it's on the decline, like, let me know in the comment box below. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're looking for ways to support the channel, follow me on social media. All the links will be down in the description box below. And I'll be back with another video soon. Bye, y'all.